Fear them not, therefore. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in the light, and what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops.
I'm afraid this is a story that can never be told, my friend. Ah, yes, the truth. You know, my friend, maybe it's time you did learn the truth. It's obviously something you have had little experience with.
We have a right to know what's in our food.
I have the right to know what I'm feeding my family.
I'm 6 months pregnant. With this pregnancy, I'm more aware of the things that I am eating, the choices that I am making. I want to make informed choices. I don't find personally when I'm in the grocery store that foods that are genetically modified are labeled. And everything I am consuming directly affects this child that's growing in my belly, and I absolutely have a right to know what I'm eating and what I'm therefore feeding the child.
My mother had heart disease, my oldest brother had heart disease, and all of us had hypertension, but I just didn't really think about it. And then I had a heart attack. I was told that I had to change my diet. Lord, you are so surprised what's in our food. Looking at the labels changed my life. I feel so much better. And I really do have a right to know what's in my food.
I grew up, eating meat and potatoes and, my fair share of Twinkies and Doritos and Ding Dongs. And then as I started into motherhood, I truly didn't think twice about the foods that I was feeding my family because they were the same foods that I ate as a kid. When our youngest child suddenly one morning had an allergic reaction to breakfast, her face started to swell shut. It was absolutely terrifying. We realized that we were pretty food illiterate when it came to these processed foods. There were also a whole bunch of new chemicals and new ingredients that hadn't been in the foods that we ate as kids. Some of these GMOs, they're designed to produce an insecticide internally in the plant and to withstand increasing doses of weed killers. here in the U.S., these genetically engineered ingredients, they're not on the labels, so we're not able to make an informed choice. And so while the jury is still out on this, I want the right to know what I'm feeding my family. You guys, you're too important, right? Right?
I have a right to know what's in my food.
We have a right to know what's in our food.
I have the right to know what I'm feeding my family.
Today we'll talk about the recent study that showed your potato chips could be as cancerous as smoking a pack a day. If you're a couch potato that loves to be accompanied by deep fried potatoes, you might want to look away. It turns out that aside from the saturated fat and empty calories, potato chips also contain the same cancer-causing chemical ingredient, acrylamide, that's found in cigarettes. In fact, chip makers in California are being forced to put a warning right on the bag if they don't change the way they make their product by 2012. So, as if we needed to give you another reason to stop gobbling down the potato chips whenever you need a snack, there it is, cancer. Maybe the combination of the big C with the already big possibility of heart attack and stroke will help you choose snacks more wisely. Grab an apple, make yourself some slices with peanut butter or almond butter, up the whole grains with Triscuits and grapes, or find your own snack that tastes great but won't bring up words that evoke grim images. I mean, potato chips may be harmless. That's only if you have them like once or twice a year. Somebody mark my calendar. That's it for this edition of Insiders Health TV. I'm your host, Kimberly Walston, and remember, it's your health. We're just helping you think outside the bag.
That are critical to understanding. When we used to speak a decade ago, you and I, pretty close to a decade ago, about the plans of the New World Order, the Illuminati, to destroy 9/10 or 90% of the population, people used to sneer and jeer, call me a doom monger, call us, meaning whatever they called us. But in retrospect now, nothing we're saying is future tense. It's all present tense. It's happening now. And with the gravest risks and the gravest outcomes that the planet has known underway, and I'm sorry I have to do that, the thing that people have got to understand is if they search for the truth in mainstream media, they're already dead. Thank God for your show. Thank God for talk radio for as long as the good Lord allows it to continue on, because, again, there is no truth in mainstream media. So if somebody says, well, they watch Fox News, that's like having a lobotomy on the right side. If they watch MSNBC, that's like having a lobotomy on the left side. And if they watch CNN, that's like basically having an empty cranial cavity. And I'm sorry, but I hold the mainstream media as complicit and as absolutely complicit, and maybe ordered to be complacent in withholding life-saving information from not only the American people, but the world's population at large. First of all, this is a supernatural, ruled by the devil, integrated by his cohorts and his associates to bring about the destruction of all humanity. Jesus said, if the days weren't shortened, there'd be no flesh left alive. Well, right now, Doug, we've got a lot of people that are being exposed to lethal doses of radiation, not just in Japan, but on the entire West Coast, areas of pockets, if you will, of fallout, for instance, in Boulder, Colorado, in Portland, and in Boise, Idaho, interestingly enough. And what's fascinating and telling is that the history books, the physics books, and even the basis of science are being, distorted or bastardized. That's actually a better word. So that the old levels of lethal doses, they're not telling people that, hey, anymore, if you get a lethal dose of 450 REMs or 450 RADs, you're going to die. They're just raising the bar. Meanwhile, people are dying, and children are dying, and infant cancer is rising. And look, this is the poisoning of the ocean. Whether people want to believe the book of Revelation or not, we're seeing the book of Revelation coming alive right before our eyes. And I always go on every show and say the book of Revelation isn't the revelation of bad stuff. It's a revelation of Jesus Christ, which God the Father gave to the Apostle John, that Jesus is who he said he is, meaning God the Father, and Jesus is the one that's opening up the scrolls. Jesus is the one who's worthy. And so it's a revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave to his servant John. And so because God loves humanity, see, the attitude of mainstream Christian churches, every pastor in America should be warning his flock, feeding his flock, preparing his flock. Unfortunately, all they're doing, in my opinion, the majority, not all men, and not all men of God, but I'm just saying the majority are dumb unto death, and they're more worried about retirement and being acceptable with the people that they minister to than bring in the word of the Lord. So what happens when leadership fails, the people follow suit. Now,
let's think conspiracy for a minute. And we'll see the fallacy of it here in a little bit, because we're going to go to the scripture. The conspiracy of it is the global elite, the Illuminati, the New World Order people. They do want all the gold. They're greedy. I want you to, and think about this now. The Bible is right when it says, the King James Bible is right when it says the love of money is the root of all evil. Now, the NIV doesn't say it that way. It says it is a root of all evil. But the King James says it's the root of all evil. And I can tell you, why is it that only a few people want to control the world?
A secret society bent on world domination. Nothing happens without the approval of the most clandestine organization on the planet. Its shadowy members work silently behind the scenes in their bid to control us. The Illuminati.
The Illuminati is a secret society within a secret society. They have the age-old dream of controlling the world.
I believe that the highest level members of the Illuminati are nothing less than Luciferians.
The Illuminati decides what appears in the news, who wins the elections, who starts the wars. It's all part of their grand plan. Total world domination.
And damn it, I'm tired of it. I don't want to go along with it. I don't want to commit my children to it. Well, let me tell you something. I'm not going to bow down to you.
Just what is the Illuminati to provoke such passion, such anger, such hatred?
You scum!
The Illuminati is everywhere, hidden amongst us. Anyone in this crowd could be a member. He could be one, she could be one, he definitely could. But we can never be sure. They're secretive, shadowy, surreptitious, and the stuff of myth.
So I'm going on a journey to look for this elite group that's scheming and conspiring against us. And I'm going to try and discover what's true about it and what's not true. The journey begins deep in the heart of Texas.
This is Austin, Texas, conspiracy capital of the world.
Texas is home to at least 4 of the world's leading Illuminati conspiracy theorists. 3 of them live in Austin. Alex Jones, broadcaster, writer, and Illuminati enemy. In his weekly public access TV show, he roughs up the Illuminati and its goal of global domination.
The Illuminati, whose religion is feeding on you and dumbing you down and enslaving you. And it's time for all of you to stop being naive and to get involved.
I couldn't think of a better job exposing their crimes, exposing their propaganda, exposing what these Illuminati fat cats think of us, the population. They think of us as their minions. They call us cattle. But I'll tell you something, they're a bunch of trash. And they may say that they're gods and that we're their slaves, but in reality, throughout history, corrupt elites are always brought down. That's why the globalists are so afraid of us, is because they know. The globalists know that the people always rise up against them, always defeat them.
The Illuminati means the Enlightened Ones. The society was founded in Bavaria in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, a professor of law. I wanted to find out more about Illuminati history and what the Illuminati's been up to since 1776. Alex Jones has sent me 300 miles north of Austin to meet an expert on this mystifying organisation. Jim Maher's view of the Illuminati fits perfectly with his conspiratorial view of history.
If it's not an act of God, it's a conspiracy.
Jim spent much of his life studying the Illuminati. I wanted to know what its beliefs were.
The founding concept was that man is able to determine and to forge his own destiny, and that we do not need organized religion, we do not need cardinals or priests or popes or whoever else to dictate to us. And their stated goals was the destruction of all organized religion and all of the existing governments at the time. They had this basic egalitarian concept of, I guess you would say, responsible anarchy.
Okay, that's a start. Next, I get sent back to Austin. I have an appointment with conspiracy theorist number 3.
It really starts, as I said earlier, in the first...
Galen Ross believes that Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Illuminati, started out with good intentions. But he just didn't keep to them.
His idea was to bring in the best and the brightest and try to gain control of the world so they could solve world problems. They really had these glorious ideas, and then it sort of went awry.
It went awry?
Yes, they took on evil directions. They really control everything of significance throughout the entire world. That goes back to the Civil War in the United States, World War I, World War II, the Vietnam War, and the Iraqi War. They financed every war since about 1800, both sides.
Every time I think I'm on to the Illuminati, someone says something that sends me in a different direction. On to the next one.
Now Galen sends me down the road to see conspiracy theorist number 4.
Open up your window, let some air to this room.
The Illuminati get a regular thumbs down from local radio show host Tex Mars.
The heinous goals of the Illuminati conspiracy.
Tex is also a prolific author and minister of the cloth. And Tex has an alarming take on the Illuminati's history.
They had secret rituals behind, closed doors, and they enlisted certain others in their conspiracy. Their plan was to demolish the majority of the population and to bring men back to a savage, wild state. So it was really a satanic thing. These men funded Adolf Hitler.
Right, the Illuminati. Secret rituals, satanic leanings, Adolf Hitler. Responsible for the American Civil War and everything else since. I'm confused, and I'm about to get more confused.
They give members questionnaires. You know, would you kill? Would you steal? Would you do this for a greater good? And if you say, no, I wouldn't, they go, oh, you've passed. You're the good person we want. But if you do show that you're sociopathic and a control freak, you then move into the higher levels of the Illuminati.
Information overload. There are just so many different ideas about what the Illuminati is, and I think I know why. About 10 years after its birth, the ideas of the Illuminati terrified the church and the governments of Europe so much that it was forced underground.
It's not that they actually physically went away, they just, put on a different coat and went out a different door and acted like everything was okay, but their philosophy remained intact.
The Illuminati became mysterious, almost indefinable as, I'm told, it began to infiltrate other organizations throughout the world.
These people, they spin out secret societies and organizations the way a spider does a web to entrap us here.
That's all the Illuminati really is, a secret society, a body to expand control.
The key ingredient to the Illuminati philosophy is secrecy and deceit. Because if they made their plans public and acknowledged publicly what they're trying to do, then there would be incredible resistance. That's why when the modern secret societies have their meetings, they don't allow cameras, they don't allow news coverage, and nobody really knows what they're talking about.
Jim Mars has classified the power structure of the planet based on his belief that the Illuminati has infiltrated almost all the world's political and social institutions.
I've put together what I call the pyramid of power. And of course, at the very bottom in the broadest block is the poor, long-suffering public. And they're controlled through the mass media and the low-level political structure, which in turn is controlled by... These are in turn controlled by... These in turn are controlled by the... which in turn controlled by the Committee of 300 or the Illuminati. And at the very top of my pyramid, I have a big question mark because it's who controls them.
Just one question mark? I've still got loads of them. Maybe I'll find some answers in an American university secret society. Maybe on an industrial estate in southeast England. I hope so, because from what I've learned so far, I'm a little worried about the Illuminati.
They don't want your soul to be free and happy and creative. They want you dumbed down and hateful and evil and unhappy like they are.
I'm in Texas on a journey of discovery, looking for the Illuminati, the secret society bent on world domination. I've been told that for well over 200 years it's been furtively infiltrating some of the most powerful organizations on the planet. Even other secret organizations, like Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones was founded in 1832 by the Illuminati, and it was founded to help put somebody in the presidency to help take over the United States.
Skull and Bones, founded at Yale, one of America's finest universities, is one of the most notorious secret societies in America. Its members are the richest of the rich.
They select 15 rising juniors. But think of that, 15 young men, chosen not because of their talents, although they may have some, but because of wealth, because of dynasty.
Alexandra Robbins, a Yale graduate, has investigated Skull and Bones and interrogated over 100 of its members. Two of the most prominent Skull and Bones graduates are George W. Bush and John F. Kerry. Both have undergone its unusual initiation ceremony at its headquarters, the Tomb.
The most prevalent myth of Skull and Bones is that initiates must lie naked in a coffin and masturbate while recounting their entire sexual history. That's not true. What is true is that after summer vacation, when the 15 new members come back as seniors, fully clothed and standing upright in front of a painting of a woman, each new member must recount his or her entire sexual history. And it spawned legions of leaders in all sorts of fields, including 3 presidents of the United States, scores of senators, cabinet members, congressmen.
They have names like Magog and Gog and Beelzebub. They actually have devilish names.
So it's a secret society, and it's a satanic secret society. They even admit that they eat off Hitler's silverware and have Nazi flags and things in the tomb, and war is on the wall in huge letters. And they collect body parts and do strange rituals in the coffins.
They do what? They collect body parts?
That's right. They've had, they've done some grave robbing. They've had, it's all admitted.
Why do they do that? I mean, what's the thing with the body parts?
It's like totems of power. They believe it gives them power. And it's kind of the whole death motif. It's kind of necrophilic. They're sick.
But Skull and Bones may be even more sinister than a mere society of body part collectors. I may be getting closer to the Illuminati.
There has been investigations of Skull and Bones, and what they find out is that that was brought to this country from Germany, and that it is actually known as Chapter 322. And it appears to be an Illuminati cell.
Well, so far so good. But I can't feel I can understand the Illuminati properly without meeting a member. And I've been made an offer I can't refuse. The English county town of Hertford was way down my list of likely centres of Illuminati activity. But I've made contact through a website with a man called Tim, who says he knows a member.
I'm taking you to meet Mr. A. So, you're about to meet an Illuminatus. And it's probably worth pointing out that this is the first time an Illuminatus has spoken on record for 3 centuries.
The rendezvous is a remote industrial estate where, on a Saturday afternoon, Mr. A knows there will be no industry.
I suspect that the reason why Mr. A has chosen this location above any other is its seclusion. It really is in the middle of nowhere.
Tim abandoned us and left to pick up Mr. A. Originally, there'd been a Mr. B as well, but he'd pulled out a week earlier. Would Mr. A do the same? The Illuminati seemed to be slipping from my grasp. But I soon learned that even the experts have exactly the same problem.
The Illuminati transcends political lines and religious lines, and therefore it's really hard to point the finger at any particular person or any particular group and say, this is the Illuminati at work.
Well, that seems to be true. But then I remember something that Galen Ross had shown me back in Austin.
Thanks. So what are you working on?
It was a bit of a breakthrough.
Well, the current book that I'm working
Galen told me that he'd come into possession of a document that proved the Illuminati's existence beyond doubt.
This is like a full-on command centre.
Yes. Now, I do have evidence that there is an official Illuminati organization.
So this is actual evidence of the Illuminati?
That's correct. And this I got from a friend who has the actual document, and he ran me a copy of it. This is a membership certificate of this person named Higgins that was made a lifetime member.
Illuminati, a recognition of the divine brotherhood, objects, the discovery, accumulation, and diffusion of knowledge. It's really worth having.
Yeah, if you're a member of that, it opens the doors to you to as much as your imagination will allow.
At last, I've seen some evidence of the Illuminati's existence, even if it is just a slightly poor photocopy. And now I'm told of another place where the Illuminati meet up. It sounds like a sort of Illuminati holiday camp. Bohemian Grove.
What is Bohemian Grove? Well, it's an annual gathering of some of the most powerful men in the world, in the middle of a forest in California. It's media tycoons, captains of industry, presidents of the United States, that sort of person. And just like Skull and Bones, the whole thing is shrouded in secrecy and mystery.
High-level members of the Illuminati, of the elite, of the global crime syndicate, meet with lower-level members, and basically it's like a corporate crime seminar. They are there planning the course of the world.
In July of 2000, Alex Jones smuggled himself into Bohemian Grove.
All the evidence is right here, exposing the Illuminati, their different allied organizations. It's all on the website. This is George W. Bush and his father giving speeches. And then here's Richard Nixon. And here you have President Jimmy Carter.
It's at Bohemian Grove that Alex Jones insists the Illuminati hatch their plots.
It's how to set up the world government, what they're going to do, what their plans are. And here you have
Under the gaze of a giant concrete owl called Molech, Alex Jones secretly photographed the mock human sacrifice that launches every gathering.
This is a shot of the high priest right here over the flame with the people in their black and red robes. There are a bunch of different rituals that they do, and they're inducting a member in a mock human sacrifice. And
where's the giant concrete owl?
Molech.
Molech.
Right here. You can see the owl right there. And it was quite chilling, though, I can assure you. If your neighbor was doing simulated sacrifices in their backyard, was worshiping Molech and doing a mock human sacrifice of a child, would you let that neighbor walk your dog? Would you let that neighbor babysit your child? Would you let that neighbor run your country?
Hartford again. Still waiting for Mr. A.
I've dropped off Mr. A. He hasn't got a lot of time, but I know exactly where we need to go and meet him.
For some reason, Mr. A has now chosen another industrial estate to meet us at. It's all very cloak and dagger, or maybe just a wild goose chase.
We need to make absolutely sure that that Mr. A cannot be identified from this interview. I can't stress strongly enough the importance of concealing his identity. The thing about the Illuminati, they're famous for these terrible, blood-curdling, horrific forfeits that they warn any member will suffer who gives away their secrets.
As Tim abandons us again to pick up the elusive Mr. A, we explore our second deserted industrial estate of the day, now reflecting that our pursuit of the Illuminati might be a little dangerous.
You don't want to mess with these people.
You really don't know. These are... in the United States, we have the mafia, which is pretty mean group. The Illuminati put the mafia in the shade.
Oh, really?
And almost everyone that learns about what I do says, why are you still alive?
I want the Illuminati and the globalists to know that there are many of us that are willing to sacrifice our lives, that are willing to go to your camps, that are willing to die.
I did get threatening phone calls from people calling up with a voice changer, Mr. Jones, it's time for you to back off. And at that point, 4 guys came up and surrounded me. And they said, you better back off, you better stop what you're doing. And I go, I'll never stop. You guys are destroying humanity. I mean, it's my instinct to fight against tyranny. And one of them pulled out a little double-edged knife, and the big one, one of the bigger ones, slugged me right in the nose and broke my nose, and blood began spraying. But I'm not a badass, but I can stick up for myself, especially in a situation like that. All of us can. And so I viciously began attacking them.
I know that they have lots of records on me and that they're monitoring me. And
how are they doing? Is it electronic?
Yes, they have antenna arrays that monitor all electronic signals. If you use the right combination of keywords, like if you say murder, dynamite, blow up, kill, assassinate, then these computers will immediately transfer that conversation to a person sitting at a desk.
So they know I'm here now?
Absolutely.
Just seeing if I can see them.
I've still never seen an Illuminati. Or is it Illuminatus? But now I'm told of yet another organisation that this most secret of societies has infiltrated. The Bilderbergers. Every year, the Bilderberg Group meets for a few days in 5-star accommodation, amid 10-star security. The Bilderbergers held their first meeting in 1954 in a small Dutch town, in the Bilderberg Hotel. Since then, their annual meetings have attracted many of the most powerful men and women on the planet.
These guys really do run the world. Lords and the heads of the biggest banking dynasties, and Dutch and British royalty, and Rockefellers, and secretaries of states, and UN secretary generals, and German chancellors, and the head of the House of Saudi going and attending this meeting.
Many believe that the Bilderbergers form the most powerful organisation of all, that they are the Illuminati in disguise. I've come to Washington, D.C., capital of the world's richest and most powerful nation. But how much of its power lies with the Illuminati infiltrators of the Bilderberg Group? Jim Tucker has battled the Bilderbergers for most of his life. He also battles those who don't share his less than flattering view of them.
What the hell do you mean, innocuous group? You think they're getting together to play pinochle? If you had the brains God promised at Grindstone, you'd be all over this damn story. You're a journalistic whore. Bye. Bilderberg's motivation is to control the entire world. They're drunk with power. And they see themselves as masters of the globe. It's their plantation. We're their slaves.
And the secrecy with which the Bilderbergers surround themselves generates endless suspicion.
You have the people who are making public policy outside the purview of the public. And it really makes a mockery out of the idea of freedom and democracy.
A founder member of the Bilderberg Group is one-time Labour Chancellor of the Exchequer, Dennis Healey. What did he have to say about its obsession with secrecy?
It wasn't secret, it was private.
We didn't want the press there because we wanted people to be able to talk freely.
Jim Tucker has tried to infiltrate Bilderberger meetings year after year.
But of course, every now and then some journalists would find there was a conference and sometimes try to get in, and of course he was thrown out. And of course there were people of utter unimportance.
Dennis Healy is cute. He is real cute. They don't meet to play pinochle for 3 days. If they didn't have impact on public policy, they wouldn't bother meeting.
Absolute bunkum. I've never heard such nonsense. Tony Blair attended the Bilderberg meeting before he became Prime Minister. Bill Clinton attended the Bilderberg meeting before he became President of the United States.
And it's significant that they attended before the meeting, so it's kind of like...
They're vetted to become, to be allowed to become the leaders of their nation. That is utter bunkum again. They decide who will go to war, where the wars will be, how long the wars will last, who will finance the wars. Bunkum. I've never heard such crap in my whole life.
But Galen Ross doesn't think it's bunkum or crap. He's compiled a book listing the names of the secret rulers of the world. It includes the Bilderbergers.
I published the first edition of Who's Who of the Elite.
Dennis Healy?
Yes.
He's in there?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
It becomes absolutely obvious that they control everything of significance throughout the entire world. Yeah. Absolute crap.
So how do the Illuminati control the world?
Well, it really starts, as I said earlier, in the first Bilderberg meeting where they talked about the creation of the European Union.
Since then, Galen tells me, the Illuminati have been busy creating the African Union, the American Union, and lots of other unions as well. He says they're stepping stones to their great goal of the global union, which will come into being around 2010.
So it's all already in place, you're saying?
It's all in place, and it will be complete domination of the entire world, politically and economically. There'll be no sovereignty anywhere.
Hartford. Again. Still no Mr. A.
I don't actually know where he is. He's running somewhere. I'll just find him. So bear with me a sec. Hello? Okay, change your plan then, yeah? Okay. Hold on a sec. Yeah, you might want to turn the camera off. Yeah, you get sort of paranoid, I guess. He's got cold feet. From what he said, I think I'll be able to talk him into rescheduling it. So I'm sorry to have taken all the way out here for nothing, but I think it's going to have to be another day.
Well, maybe I'll never meet Mr. A. Maybe I'll never meet any member of the Illuminati. But as soon as I start doubting the Illuminati's existence, I learn that its signs and symbols are all around us. If only we know where to look. My search for the elusive Illuminati is proving far more complex than I'd hoped. But occasionally, I'm told, we are allowed glimpses of them through their secret, sometimes satanic signs.
Make no mistake about it, these men believe that ritual, hand signs, symbols bring power. And when you get to that stage, I believe you become demon-possessed.
And these demonic signs and symbols of the Illuminati are all around us. Especially, it seems, in downtown Austin.
I've been told that this building holds a kind of special significance for the Illuminati, because the Illuminati apparently worship owls, and they say this building looks a bit like an owl. I'll be honest, I can't really see it myself, but I'm not getting much of an owl vibe from this.
The owl that I can't see is Molech again, named after an ancient Middle Eastern god.
So, what is this building?
Well, it's a new building in Austin. It's the Frost Bank building. But the two circles on each side of the beak and then the crown, that's the crest of the owl's horns. It's got the eyes, it's got the beak. It's an owl. And it's kind of like the Illuminati mascot, one of their mascots. The Skull and Bones is one. The other is the owl. The Illuminati come out of kind of the secret mystery architecture schools. So they use architecture as a way to communicate their views. So basically this is a giant idol to Molech.
Really? This is an idol?
Yes. And so this is kind of how they communicate to us. It's hidden in plain view, if it is hidden at all.
And is it, I mean, in a way, from what I've kind of learned this far about the Illuminati, it's kind of quite fitting that it's a hidden thing that is amongst us.
Hidden amongst us, that's what they love, because the profane can't see it because we're unconscious.
But why owls? What, I mean, that's kind of why.
Well, we always hear that, oh, it's the god of wisdom, going back to the Greeks. The owl also sees in the dark. He's all-seeing. But whereas his prey is blind in the night, so it's the king of the night. So it's kind of like a double meaning, whereas the all-seeing eye, the illuminated one, it only illuminates for those that are part of it. It's an owl.
But also, they can rotate their heads, can't they? They see behind them.
That's right.
Not that one. I don't mean the building.
Always notice in every city, the biggest buildings are the bank buildings towering above us. And now around the country, buildings are, being affixed with owl effigies. There's others around the nation. So these are their monuments.
Now that Alex has pointed out that it looks like an owl, this building, it is quite difficult not to see an owl. I mean, certainly from this angle, it is owl-like. From round, from face on, it's just a building. But it does seem that Austin is dominated by this big owl.
As well as the owl, there's another symbol favoured by the Illuminati. And this symbol also goes back to ancient times.
The Illuminati operates in a pyramidal power structure. That's why the Illuminati symbol is the pyramid. A tiny, enlightened elite and a giant, dumbed-down mass beneath them.
And that Illuminati symbol, the pyramid, appears on that great American symbol, the dollar bill.
We're going to be looking today at our $1 bill. Our $1 bill. It has two very odd seals on it, and it's very interesting that the Illuminati had a great hand to play in choosing those seals.
Here's your United States $1 bill. On the back, you can clearly see the all-seeing eye of knowledge from the pyramid. And I suspect this represents the Illuminati at the top of the pyramid, and then all of the poor, ignorant folks making up the bulk of the structure. You've got the Latin inscription that says Norvis Ordo Seclorum. Seclorum means the material world, the secular world. That's where the word secular comes from. And Novus is new and Ordo is the globe or the world. So you could translate this as the New World Order. And the people who are behind it are the people who control the money, and we're back to the Illuminati.
There's lots of occult stuff on here. And the end game of the Illuminati, their favorite thing is to hide everything in plain view so that we're conditioned to accept our slavery. They're all-seeing eyes, they're pyramids. They believe they get power from this, and it's also how they communicate with their own esoteric language with each other.
So that's what you're saying about, these clues are everywhere, like the giant owl tower in the middle of Austin.
Yes.
Well, I think I've got the hang of the owl. But now I'm intrigued by this New World Order concept that's on the dollar bill.
Could you explain to me the difference between the Illuminati and the New World Order?
Okay, well, the Illuminati, let's say, is the head and the brain. And then when I punch you in the face, that's the New World Order. The New World Order is what the Illuminati is building. It's their goal, it's their thrust. And the Illuminati is the creator, and their goal is the New World Order, world government, global governance, world tyranny.
What if they do achieve their goal of total globalization? What is our guarantee that some new Hitler-like tyrant won't gain control?
And I'm told that's precisely what the Illuminati has in store for us.
The mission of the Illuminati is what the mission of any elite has been throughout history, to maintain power and control. And to do that, they've got to dumb down and completely enslave the population. And if the population would become just half as informed about the history of the New World Order and the Illuminati controllers as they are about football or baseball or basketball, then we'd be a much freer and happier society. And my mission is to wake people up. Governor Perry, from time to time we return here to engage in the First Amendment and to expose your Illuminati activities, being a servant of Bush and the Skull and Bones cabal and the New World Order. It's an information warfare tool to expose corruption and evil and what the Illuminati's up to. Why you Illuminati thugs think you're gods, I'll never understand. But I'm here to tell you, you're not my God.
Are you allowed to do this?
Well, they'd like to say we aren't, but we have a First Amendment. Yes, I've done this many times.
So you're invoking the free speech?
That's right.
Just very loud free speech.
More and more people are waking up to the corruption that is government. The organized crime syndicate that is the New World Order. You need to stop enslaving us, and you need to stop serving your Illuminati globalist masters, Governor.
I really, really hope he's in.
But are Alex Jones's protests in vain? Are the fears of the conspiracy theorists legitimate? Are we already inside the New World Order?
The Illuminati doctrine seemed to be getting a tighter and tighter chokehold on the world, but yet on the other hand, there is a backlash and there is a resistance. So I see it as kind of a race as to who's going to get control first, the people who would tyrannize their fellow man, or the people of good heart who would like to see true freedom and democracy.
We're already inside the New World Order, and their end game is a world population of only about 250 to 500 million people living in a big brother society, every action, every motion, everything we do tracked and traced.
We see now the technological capability. Listen, these guys, the Illuminati today, they have a capability that Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin didn't have.
I've dedicated the rest of my life to exposure of this knowledge because I think it's evil.
They are going to force drug in a Brave New World type scenario almost the entire population. It's the ultimate power trip, completely out of control, and humanity has got to wake up to this elite, face the facts of history, and it's got to be done now. And I hope people will rally to this cry and stand up against the New World Order and the Illuminati masters that have built it.
So just how much have I learned about the Illuminati on my journey? Well, amongst other things,
They really control everything of significance throughout the entire world.
And
these men funded Adolf Hitler.
And
they give members questionnaires. Would you kill? Would you steal?
But I still have many questions. I mean, does the fact that Mr. A never turned up in Hartford mean the Illuminati don't exist? Or does it mean they do exist because they got to Mr. A with their blood-curdling forfeits? And just think of all the other things I've been told.
They have antenna arrays that monitor all electronic signals.
And
it's got the eyes, it's got the beak, it's an owl.
And
they have names like Magog and Gog.
And
they collect body parts and do strange rituals in the coffins.
Isn't it all too far-fetched? Just all too unbelievable. The Illuminati just couldn't exist. Could it?